Hello everyone, welcome to this session on what is DevOps. So basically this is a demo class for the DevOps course that we have. And what we're going to do today is basically get introduced to what DevOps is and also understand the various tools using which the DevOps concept is basically possible. So before we move on guys, let me just explain a little about how this session is going to be. So we have some people on YouTube and we have some people who have joined us on webinar. So the people on YouTube, if you have any questions, you can join our webinar and you guys can ask me questions live. For the people on webinar, guys, you can go ahead, ask your questions in the question box that is given to you, and I will be answering your question as we move along in this session. So with that said, guys, let's go ahead and understand the agenda for this session. Now, before I move on to the agenda, guys, if there is anything that you would like to go ahead and ask me, please go ahead and ask. If not, let's go ahead and start with the session. So please go ahead and ask if you have any questions. Okay, so let's start with this. Am I audible to everyone? Can everyone give me a quick confirmation in the chat? Am I audible to everyone? Okay, Shane says he can hear me out. Great, Shane. Others? Can you quickly confirm if you're able to hear me or not? Okay, Minashi says she's able to hear. So there's Shentil, Ajit, Sunil, Rakesh, Samaran, Thomas, Sanjeev, Janardhan. All right, guys, thank you for your confirmation. So let's start this session. Let me just verify if I'm audible on both the mediums. So I'm just checking if I'm audible on Intellipaat channel as well, and if it looks good. Cool. All right. So the audio is good to go. All right, guys. So welcome to this class. Today in this class, we will be understanding DevOps from scratch. So even people who do not have a background in programming, people who do not have a background in DevOps, people who do not have a background in cloud, you guys can clearly attend it. And we are going to understand everything from the base level today as to what DevOps is. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the session. And like I said, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask me while I'm taking the class. And I'll be taking a logical break in between and I'll be answering all your questions. Okay. Samaran says, is any certification provided for this training? Well, Samaran, when you enroll for the course, yes, a certification is provided. Samaran saying, can fresher apply for this course? Absolutely, Samaran. So this is, like I said, it's basically a training which is basically for all the people who are interested in DevOps, even if they are from a non-programming background. All right. So let's go ahead and start the class now. So let's start off with the first topic. So like I said, this is for all the people who even are from a non-programming background. Let's go ahead and first understand what is software development exactly, because once you understand what is software development, only then you will be able to understand why DevOps basically came into the picture. Okay, so software development, guys, is basically the process of transforming a customer's requirement into a complete product. For example, if we are using YouTube today, and probably the way we perceive YouTube today or the way we use the YouTube product today, the first thing that would have happened is this would have came as an idea in someone's mind. They would have jotted down the requirement. They must have jotted down the features on a piece of paper, and then they would have started developing this product. Okay, so the journey of having a product on paper to a completely deployed product on the internet. It could be internet, it could be a desktop application, it could be anything. It could be a software package as well. This process is basically called software development. Okay. Now, the next question is that what is this process? What basically are the steps that we follow in order to create a good software, right? So, since the time that software development has basically been incepted, when you look at the skeleton of software development, these are the 5 points that are followed when basically developing a software. What are these 5 points? First point is, the first stage is basically requirements. Basically, requirements is the stage where you gather all the facts, you gather all the features, you gather all the ideas, and then you basically collate in one single place, and that is basically the requirement stage, right? So it could either be that you are the guy who wants the product to be developed, and you are the guy who's going to manage the team who's basically going to develop the product, or it could be that you basically hire a third-party agency who's basically going to develop the product for you. And in that case, you have to sit down with them, let them understand what your idea is, and then these guys will basically be converting, your ideas into technical requirements. So if I were to be more specific, the way it works is that there is an architect in every company or a CTO in every company. This guy will be able to understand you as a guy who is probably from a non-software background, but he will be able to understand what your business basically demands, right? And once he has all your thoughts, all your ideas on paper, then he will tell you how your product will basically look like. And once you basically agree, yeah, this looks perfectly good, then this guy, the CTO or the architect, is basically going to go ahead and explain all these things to their to his developers or his software development team, who are then going to basically work on this product, right? So the first stage is the requirement stage. Then you have something called as design. Now, once your paper, all your requirements, all your ideas have been jotted down on the paper, the architect will basically, like I said, he will convert it into technical requirements. So this stage basically deals in converting your ideas into technical requirements and then presenting it to the person who wanted the product to be developed. And once he gives a go, then comes the implementation phase, where all the technical specifications which the architect has now come up with will be passed down to the developers so that they can work on it and basically can work the product. And once the product has been built, alongside while the developers will be working on the product, there will be a separate team, which is basically the software testing team, which will be developing their own test cases. What do you mean by test cases? Basically, they will be developing code which is going to check whether your software, which your developers are creating, this software is giving the correct outputs to a certain input or not. For example, let's say your company or your client wants a calculator to be built, right? And once you build the calculator, let's say the testing team is devising a test case wherein the input will be given something such as 1 plus 2 into 3 divided by 4, right? So let's say this is the string that you are basically going to give the input as. And you obviously can have the output of this as well. Let's say the output is some number. So you tell the code that you give this string, and you tell the code that you expect, or you should see whether this particular output is coming or not. And if the output is correct, that means the software is working correct. Otherwise, the software has some fault. So similarly, a lot of complex test cases are basically created. And then basically, this is ran again the software that you develop. And this is basically the verification phase in the software development lifecycle. Okay. And once the verification phase is over, finally comes the maintenance phase, where basically you have released the product to the client. And now the client says, you know what, I want the maintenance of this application as well, because it could be that tomorrow I make some upgrade to the operating system on which I'm going to run this software. And in that case, if there is any update required to the product, I would want you to do that. Other than that, obviously, no software is perfect in this world. So you would also want to release out bugs, bug fixes, and other things when you're done with the product. So as you would have noticed, every week you will get updates for Microsoft Windows, right? If you double check the option of automatically updating your operating system, every week or so you will get an update which basically has some security bug fixes, which will basically help your computer to be more secure. Now, what are those bug fixes? Bug fixes are basically the new vulnerabilities that developers find in their application which they have already developed, and they try to fix it by pushing some update code to their already existing application. That is the maintenance phase for your operating system, which is basically currently working. And that is exactly which happens for each and every software which is out there, right? So then, in the maintenance phase, the software developers will frequently check for bugs or even feedback from, the company who got the software developed, and they will be giving out the frequent bug fixes and security updates or any other feature as well, if and when required. So this is what the software development lifecycle basically looks like from a bird eye view, right? This is the basically product, this is basically the process which is followed, be it a product that you're building for a company like Google or a product which you're building for your startup, right? These are the steps which will be followed. Now, obviously, inside this process, you can have more complex steps that you can add, and that differs from company to company. But at a skeleton view, these are the steps which are followed when you're developing a software. Okay. Now, to follow these steps, basically, there were a lot of models that were created. We had something called as a waterfall model. We had something called as an agile model. We had something called as a lean model. Now, I will not be going into the depth of what these models are, but these are some models that were created once we came up with a skeleton view of how software should be developed. And each of these models had their pros and cons with respect to how the software was delivered. For example, when you used to follow the waterfall model, the software basically used to take a lot of time before it could be released to the general public, right? For example, if I'm developing a software today and the client comes to me in January and they say that, you know what, I want a product like this, it might take me time till the late December to deliver the product. But you will understand, in this world that we are living today, we cannot wait 12 months for a product to get released. Why? Because each day the requirements are changing, right? And that is why the waterfall model is not that of a success. I mean, it has its own pros and cons. For example, if you look at the positive side of using a waterfall model, the software quality used to be top notch, in the sense that whatever customer used to give the requirements about, like, let's say he gave the requirements in January, right? Each and every requirement of his will be met at the end of the life cycle, or at the end of the process when the software is basically delivered. Then there came a time when we started to follow agile model. Now, in agile model, what did we do? We took the requirements from the customer and we asked them, what is the priority for you? If you have given me 12 features, I can probably develop 3 features which are critical to your application first, and slowly and gradually I will patch your application with the rest of those features. So this was basically the agile model, and using this, the software was developed a lot faster, right? And at the same time, the problem which was there in waterfall model, which was about, let's say I'm giving a requirement in January and I'm getting the software back in December, this was solved. I am getting the software a lot faster, and at the same time, if let's say there are any requirements that I want to change, the customer wants to change, except those 3 critical features that I'm creating, let's say after 1 or 2 months, he can inform me, and since I've not started working on it, I can fix that in the coming days when I'll be starting working on those features. So that's the agile model. And finally, there's a lean model as well, in which it's an internal model. So whatever customer facing requirements you have said, that you will prioritize the requirements of the customer first, and then you will deliver the other features later. This is still happening in the lean model. It's basically an extension of agile model. But other than that, what you also try to focus on was, how to make your internal team a lot more efficient in working. For example, the lean model basically endorses not having long meetings. The lean model basically endorses, creating skills in the team. So with this, a lot more other things got fixed. A lot more efficiency within the company got increased. But at the same time, whatever was working with the customer in the agile model, that was also retained. So these were the 3 models that were basically worked upon when we used to develop softwares. And now in this age today, we have now shifted to basically work with DevOps. So if I were to basically differentiate between waterfall, agile, and lean for you, I would say that in the waterfall model, whenever you give the requirements, until and unless all the requirements are basically developed, the software is not handed out to you, right? Similarly, in Agile, like I said, only the priority features were created first and rolled out, and then the rest of the features are basically uh, created as patches and was added to the operating system or the software that was created, right? And then in Lean, the same features of Agile were followed, but at the same time, some internal efficiencies were also increased by cutting short on meetings, by endorsing skills within the teammates, etc. So this is a very quick difference between waterfall model, Agile model, and the Lean model. Now, basically the problem between the customers and the software company was solved by using the Agile and Lean model, wherein the customers were now happy because the software was getting to them a lot faster. And at the same time, even if they wanted, they could change the requirements over the time, because those requirements will be worked upon later. Obviously, the core features that cannot change, but later on, if they want some changes in the requirements, because like I said, if you're basically getting a product that developed for a business, every day the dynamics are changing, right? Like you could imagine, in the pre-COVID phase, probably being online was not that necessary, but now with the COVID, phase that we are living in, everyone tries not to go outside, but tries everything to do online. If you talk about medicines, you want to online medicine, order medicines online. If you want to buy food, you want to buy food online. If you want to buy probably groceries, you want to buy it online. So if if you had no requirement, let's say you had a shop and you had no requirement for an online presence last year, this year you have that requirement, right? So if for a company you're probably getting the billing system created, now you would also want them to create a part of your application which could also be published online. So like I said, the this was just an example, but the dynamics of the business always change, and hence the requirements as well. So it's always better to follow a model which can incorporate your changes as much as possible, right? So with this, if there is a company whom you approached for getting your product created, with the company, because of the Agile and Lean model being followed, the problem was solved. So the problem between the customers and the software company was solved, but still with even the Lean model in place, there was problems within the company, right? And what kind of problems they were, we are basically going to understand it in a little while. But that is basically what gave the that is what basically gave uh, the need for coming up with a new methodology, which is basically called DevOps, right? So why do we need DevOps? Let's go ahead and answer that question. But before we move on, guys, if you guys have any kind of questions, please let me know and I'd be happy to answer. Rakesh says, while session is going on, please explain us examples. Well, Rakesh, I'm trying the best that I can. If you have questions, please let me know, and I will be happy to answer. Others, guys, if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask. If anything is not clear to you, please let me know, because otherwise there's no point of having this session. Until and unless you do not understand what I'm teaching, there's no point, going ahead with the session. So if you have any kind of questions, please let me know. Okay, Ajit says, does DevOps require scripting? Well, Ajit, to a certain extent, I would say yes. As you advance in the skills of DevOps, you will basically start to notice that you are required to script as well. And but you don't have to worry about that, because once you start learning DevOps with Intellipaat, all the basics regarding scripting, all the basics of Linux operating system will be taught to you, right? So you don't have to worry about that. So even Linux would be a requirement for people who are going to go ahead in the DevOps industry, all right? But like I said, before we move on, guys, any kind of questions other than this, please let me know. Otherwise, let's continue with the session. Is everything clear with whatever I've been teaching you so far? Any kind of questions? Anything that you did not understand? Rakesh says, while giving session with DevOps, please. Sure, if every microservices and probably Kubernetes, when we're dealing with probably Docker, at that time it will make more sense to basically talk about microservices. First class for DevOps. Okay, Ajit says good to go. Shane says no questions from me. Good presentation. Thank you, Shane. Bhumika says, is there any difference between lean and agile except for cleaning? So cleaning, Bhumika, exactly, I would say time. So there should not be any time which is wasted, apart from having productive meetings, having short meetings, so that the developers in the office meeting. I think most of you will be able to relate. I don't on the task at hand rather than doing discussions on tasks which probably make no sense. Okay, some of the people are saying my voice is breaking. Guys, let me know. Okay, I'll just repeat. I just said that in lean methodology, what you deal with is just eliminating waste, eliminating the chance of wasting time. Postponing discussions which do not make sense discussing now is basically the motto of having lean methodologies. And I basically pointed out that probably you guys also might feel, especially in this work from home scenario, that sometimes these meetings, they unnecessarily get stretched. It's probably not productive for each and everyone in the room. Okay. Thomas is saying, is DevOps a specific way of implementing lean or agile? Not really, Thomas. So everything will be clear. Let's be a little more patient, and let's move on with the class. Okay. All right, guys. So now let's go ahead and understand why basically DevOps is important, or how basically DevOps came into the picture. So, guys, we probably solved all the problems between developers and the client who basically gave us the requirement for the software. But internally, there were a lot of problems between the team members. So we're going to go ahead and address those problems, and then we're going to see how DevOps solves those problems for us. Okay. So let's go ahead and understand that what were the problems that the internal company was facing. All right. So in the development team, when you're working with the development team, you have two kind of people. You have developers, and then you have people from the operations team. Okay. So in the operations team, you will also have people from the software testing background. You will also have system administrators, people who will be picking up your code and will be deploying it on a certain server. Might be a testing server, might be a production server, might be a staging server. So lifting and shifting of the code, deploying it on a certain server. When your code is running, you need certain softwares also be installed. So all the configuration management, all the software management is basically done by the operations team. Now, what was happening? Let's go ahead and understand. So let's first understand the roles of both these people. So a developer's job is to basically develop according to the requirements given by his manager. And once his code is ready, he has to basically pass it on to people for verification, that is testing. And once testing is done, it's basically deployed on the testing or the production servers. Okay, this is the job of a developer. The job of operations team is to basically test the code, deploy the code, and make sure it's running on the server perfectly. And for that, whatever they have to do, they basically get it done, apart from development. Because If let's say they are trying to run the code and in the testing phase, it comes that the code is not running. So the operations guy can tell the developer that, you know what, your code is not running over here. Please go ahead and check. I think there's a problem, right? So the QA of your developed product is always the operations team, and it is very integral part of the team, right? And until and unless they give you a go that yes, your code is perfect, it will never be deployed on the production environment. Okay. Now, these are the two roles. Now let's see what was happening. So a developer basically used to develop the code, he used to run the code on his system, and he used to pass on the code to the operations team. And the operations team used to run the code on their system, and they used to say, you know what, it might be running on your machine, but I just tried your code out and it is not running on my machine. So you know what? Take this code back. I have marked this code as faulty, and you have to basically go ahead and implement whatever you have to do in the code, but it should run on my system. On the other hand, the developer used to say, you know what? It's not my problem if it is not running on your machine. It could be that your machine is faulty, because when I'm running the code on my machine, it's working perfectly fine. So I'm not sure. Go ahead and check your machine, and probably then you will be able to run my code. Now, because of this, there was a lot of back and forth between the team members, and hence our ideology about the lean methodology failed over here, because even if the code was ready, right? Even if the operations team guy is right, probably the code is faulty. No work was being done because everyone was adamant that, you know what, I am right and your product or your work is wrong. So a blame game used to start whenever things like these erupted. Now, to solve this, we came up with DevOps. Now, how does DevOps help us in solving this problem? Let's go ahead and understand. So, first, let's understand the difference between traditional IT and what you call as DevOps today. So, traditional IT, if you were not following DevOps, was less productive. When you're using DevOps today, it's very much productive because this back and forth is not happening. In traditional IT, you had a skill-centric team, which means that let's say my product is on Node.js and the front end is on React. So all my team members were basically good with Node.js and React. If tomorrow I wanted a Python person, I would have to hire it because nobody in my team knew Python. Why? Because my product was not making use of Python. However, in DevOps, teams can have specialized silos wherein a product can basically be developed based on multiple technologies. My website can be having PHP running behind it. My website can also be having Node.js running behind it. My website can also be having Python running behind it. It can be a combination of multiple technologies thanks to the advancement in technologies, and that's how my code can be developed. And because of this, the DevOps teams that we have, or a team which is basically following the DevOps methodologies, have people from different skill sets and are contributing to the same product. Okay. Third thing is more time is invested in planning. So in traditional IT, because to avoid no back and forth between the developers and the operations team, a lot of planning went ahead as to when the code will be given to the operations team. You have to follow this process before you can actually go ahead and hand it over to the developer back saying your code is not working. Similarly, a developer had to create all the documentation required so that the operations guy can understand how to make his code working, right? So more time was invested in planning rather than doing stuff. But when you talk about DevOps, no time in planning actually, but smaller and frequent releases are done regularly on the product. And when I say releases, you're basically deploying the code. So if you were deploying the code probably once in 6 months at a time when you were not using DevOps, with the use of DevOps, companies can probably do multiple releases in a day, right? So earlier, when you used to talk about having a release done on a certain product, it probably used to be between once in 6 months or once in 3 months point of time. But with the use of DevOps, companies can now do multiple releases in one single day, right? And finally, it was difficult to achieve a target or a goal. Why? Because if you set a deadline that my product will be delivered by this time, right? You could not stick to that deadline given the fact because you could not predict whether the back and forth, how much of the back and forth will happen within the team. But when you're using DevOps, you can have more realistic deadlines which can be met because these kind of things are not going to happen anymore. Okay, so now that you understand what DevOps can solve for you, and now that you understand why DevOps is needed, you understand the problem that DevOps is going to solve. Let's go ahead and understand what is exactly DevOps. Okay, so guys, DevOps is a software development methodology which helps to improve collaboration. DevOps is not a tool. DevOps is, not probably a technology. It's basically a set of rules. It's basically a way of working through which the collaboration can be improved within the teams. And obviously, for getting this methodology in place, you might be using tools. But DevOps as such, in the whole quantity is not a tool, right? It's a methodology of implementing tools in a certain way through which collaboration can be improved with within developers and the operations team. Now, how is this collaboration improved? Let's go ahead and understand. Okay, now this collaboration is improved using the DevOps lifecycle, and we would be understanding that now. But before we move ahead, guys, any questions you guys have, please let me know. And if not, let's go ahead. Any questions? Anything that you want to ask before we move on? Rakesh says not at all. All right, others? Are we good with the story so far? Senthil says it's good. Great. Najmin says it's good. Great. Shane says yes. All right. Sanjeev says good. Bhumika says, does this mean a person work for the project rather than a part of the team? Not really, Bhumika. See, you can have a team working on multiple projects as well, and you can have a team working on one single project as well. So when you're working on one single project, it basically means that you are a part of a product-based company. When your team is working on multiple projects, that means you're a part of a service-based industry. So it is possible that your team is working both the ways, but that does not have anything related to what DevOps means. DevOps basically means that the problem between developers and operations team will now be fixed by improving collaboration, and you will not be wasting time in understanding what exactly went wrong. Why? Because now you're going to fix the problem of making the code, making it run on one system, and without any problems, making it run on the other system as well, without any interference of any human sort. I mean, this will be more clear as we move along. Okay, Thomas is good as well. Great. So guys, let's go ahead and let's start with what is a DevOps lifecycle. So guys, in DevOps, basically there are 4 stages through which, not 4, actually I'll say there are 5 stages that basically you go through in order to get your product ready. The first stage is continuous development. After that, the stage is called continuous testing. Then there is a stage called continuous deployment. And then there is a stage called continuous monitoring. Now, in these stages, you have specific tasks such as in continuous development, you plan and then you code. And after the coding is done, what you do is you build the code. And once the code is built, you start testing the code. And once the code has been tested, it is basically released onto a certain environment, could be production environment, could be testing environment, etc. Once the product has been released to a certain server, in that case, release also happens in multiple steps. So first of all, if whatever code has been released, that code will have some requirements. For example, it will have requirement of a certain software to be running of a certain version on that particular system. So that's basically called deployment. So your code is deployed along with the software required on that server. And once that is done, your code is now set into the monitoring stage, where operating is basically the part which is basically handled by your developers, not your developers, sorry, your customers, who will now start to work on or will start to use your product. And as and when they use your product, they will find out some flaws, they will find out some bugs, and that will be captured in the monitoring stage of your code or uh, of your DevOps lifecycle. And once you find out the bugs of your product, or once you find out the flaws of your product, the bugs are again fed back to the continuous development stage, where again it is planned out as to how these bugs will be fixed. Again, the coding is done. Again, that code is built. Again, it is tested. Again, it is released. It is then deployed on the servers. Again, it is basically given to the public to basically use, probably alpha testing, beta testing. And then it is again monitored for any kind of complaints that you get. And once the complaint has been captured, it again goes back to the planning stage. Now, let me give you some examples over here. Don't get overwhelmed with this diagram. It will be very clear in a few moments. So let me first give you some examples so that you can relate to it. Okay. So you might have seen when you basically probably are using Windows, sometimes some app crashes and you get a pop-up saying send error report, right? Then sometimes when you're basically installing a software, it has a checkbox which says send the debug logs to developers so that this product can be improved. Now, what is this? This is basically the monitoring stage of your application. This is how you're letting the company who developed the software for you know that, yes, I'm going to use your software, and whatever errors that I'm going to encounter, you can basically take a log of those errors and you can try and improve this product, right? That is the monitoring stage of an application. And you would have noticed it in most of the softwares that you basically are using these days, because all of them are monitoring their application for any kind of bugs, any kind of flaws that they can feed to the developer team, and then they can start working on. Okay, so that was the monitoring stage. Now, what is starting and what is happening over here in plan and code? In plan and code, your architect is basically planning according to requirements. What are the technical specifications that we have to develop on? And then, that basically is being passed on to the developers. So this is called continuous development. Why is it called continuous? It's called continuous because this process is never going to stop. As and when I'm going to plan, I'm going to code, I'm going to deploy, I'm going to operate it, I'm going to monitor, I am going to automatically get back logs, which again I will have to work on. So this is the life cycle of a product which is being developed. Okay, this is the life cycle of a product which is being developed, which is never going to stop, because like I said, no product is perfect in this world. There are going to be some bugs. It could be technical bugs, it could be user experience related bugs, which basically people might suggest, and based on that, the product will be improved. For example, you will see recently the update for iPhone, it basically went out. Now, in that, a lot of people were, complaining about some features not available in iPhone, which is already available in Android. For example, recently there is a widget which has been added in the iOS. Now, widgets have been there in Android, I think, since the past 6-7 years, and that were absent, completely not there in iOS. So users very frequently used to tweet to Apple, why are you not adding these features? They used to create memes out of it. Now, you can say even this is monitoring. So when a product that you're using is being heard about from their from the company which basically gave that product out to you, even when it is sold, it creates a very genuine user experience, right? For example, if I'm using my iPhone today and I am asking for some feature which is not available since the past 5 or 6 years, and suddenly I get that feature on my operating system, I feel very, uh, I don't know, I feel very obliged that, you know what, a company like Apple, they listen to me and they have that feature now in my phone. And apart from that, there'll be most of other features as well, which is basically making my product experience better. But yes, so these kind of things are basically what? This is a life cycle of a product which is not ending. So although I have an iPhone which probably will be 2 or 3 years old, but even that product, the software life cycle has not ended for it. It's going on and on. I'm getting frequent updates based on the experience, based on the feedback that people are getting or giving, right? And based on that, the updates of the features are coming in. And these are not technical bugs that companies or users are finding. These are user experience bugs which have been reported. Probably they have fixed everything on the technical end. And I'm not saying that technical bugs are not fixed. I'm just addressing the fact that it's not only technical bugs which are addressed in a product lifecycle. It could be user experience bugs as well, right? So this is basically the modern way of developing software. You develop software in a life cycle which is never going to end, and that's why you see the icon for DevOps. If you notice over here, the icon for DevOps is basically an infinity sign, because this life cycle is never going to end. Once you code, once you deploy, once you release, once you operate it, then again you're monitoring and looking out for features that you can probably include in your next build. So that's what the infinity sign is all about, and that's what the even the names suggest over here. So continuous development can also have been said development only, right? But it is called continuous development because the code is continuously being developed. Even if it's complete, you get more feedbacks on which you have to work on. It is continuously being tested, because it doesn't matter if you pass a product after rigorous testing. Again, one more product has been developed, which is even a better version of what was developed before. And again, its testing will happen. Same goes with deployment phase. Same goes with monitoring phase. So it's a continuous process which is happening. Now, you might be wondering how this is basically solving the problem between the developers and the operations guys. Let's go ahead and understand. But one very important stage over here that we did not talk about is integration. And this is the heart of DevOps, guys. So let's say I am a developer. I basically went ahead and I developed the code. Now I want to give it to my tester. Now the way I will give it to my tester could be one or two ways, right? Let's say I'm in a phase where I do not know anything about version control systems. I do not know anything about DevOps. So I probably will be uploading it on a shared drive, which is also being accessed by my operations guy, and he will be picking up the code from there one way. But here, I first have to upload the code at some place. Then that code will be picked up by the testing team, and it will be worked upon it, right? Now, I have not included the fact that which software will my code exactly work in. I've not included the fact that how much system specification is required by my software to work properly. I've not mentioned anything. I've just uploaded my code somewhere, was picked up by the testing team, and they found that the code is not running, and they straight away used to ping it back to the developer that, you know what, your code is not running, go ahead and fix it. But now with the use of DevOps technologies and tools, this thing has become very easy. So now what a developer does is, whatever code he is developing, he will always attach a Docker file along with it. Now, what is a Docker file? A Docker file is basically a piece of software which is basically going to create a container, which is nothing but an environment with all the software required for the code to work in, will be installed, and your code will be running inside this custom container or environment, and it doesn't matter where it is running, right? So let's say your testing team has Windows 7, they are running PHP 5.6, they are having a MySQL of around 5.3, and the code that you have developed, it requires PHP 7, it requires MySQL 8, it requires Linux operating system, right? So obviously, when you try to run this code in a Windows system, it will not work. So what happens is the developer now pushes his code along with the Docker file, and the tester, what he has to do is just has to build the Docker file. He doesn't even have to look at the code. He has to build this Docker file, and this Docker file, what it will do is it will create a container with the exact specification which are specified in the Docker file with the developer basically gave, and the code will be running inside that container. Now this container will be running exactly the same if it was running on a system which was developed probably 5 years ago, or a system which is basically created recently. All the operating systems on this container, which probably where this container is going to run, can be different, but always the output, always the environment that this container is going to create is going to be the same. And hence, the problem of the code not being running on some other system was solved by using tools like Docker. And again, so this was solved. Now, how do you again, so let's say I solve this problem. So now if I upload it to the shared drive along with my Docker file, the tester can pick it up from there and then he can run it. Now, what will happen when I have created, when I work for 100 days? So every 100th day, I will be uploading my code to the shared drive, right? On the 101st day as well, I update the code that I worked on that day to the shared drive. So there are a lot of versions to manage now, right? Now I cannot create a folder for every day and I can say this is the updated code that I worked on this day for. This is the updated code that I worked on probably the 3rd day of the month, the 4th day of the month, the 5th day of the month. Every day the code is being updated, right? So what happened was there was a very there was no way you could manage these many versions for one developer. Imagine having a team of 50 developers. How will you manage what everyone is doing every day, and how will you manage everyone's work that they're doing every day on the code base, right? Let's say I want, today you made a code which is running perfectly fine. I deploy it on the production as well, but after some time I realized, you know what, once I run this code, I have I'm immediately seeing a drop in my traffic that I have on the website. Now I'm not able to figure out what is wrong, but with the code that you gave me yesterday was working perfectly fine, but the code that you gave me today, I'm immediately seeing a drop in my traffic. So before understanding what the problem is with the code, I will straight away and go ahead and say, you know what, give me the code of yesterday. I will deploy that, and that should fix the problem for the business. And then I will go ahead and see what is wrong with your code. So to get this thing possible, it was possible using softwares like Git, which is basically a version control system, which is yet another tool which helps to create the DevOps pipeline. So moving further, if I were to talk about how a DevOps pipeline basically works, it works something like this. So first, what happens is the developer goes ahead and he pushes the code to a version control system, which is going to manage all the versions of your code in one central place. Now, once the code has been deployed here, I will not ask my testing team or my operations team to go ahead and pick the code from this place. I will have a software in this life cycle which will immediately pick up the latest version of the code that I've just deployed, and it will start pushing it on the testing server. On the testing server, my testers will ensure that the latest test cases are installed so that whenever a new release is pushed in, it can be checked accordingly. So my testers will never interact with the developers directly now, right? So my testing server is all ready with the new test cases, and automatically the software is going to pick up the new code, deploy it on the testing server, and now these testing software which my testers created is going to check this release. Now, if this release gives you a good response, if it says all the test cases has passed, automatically this continuous integration tool will understand, okay, so the test cases have passed, and it will deploy it on the production server, which is the main server where my application will go live to the people, right? But in case there is some test case which did not pass, automatically a mail will be triggered and it will be sent to the developer saying that this is the error that we got while we were running your code. right? And with that, what happens now? I don't have. If I'm a tester, I don't have to tell the developer what is wrong. Automatically, the logs speak. I'm going to send the logs to him, and I am also not sending it. My software is going to send the logs to the developer, and the developer does not have to wait for the tester to be available on his seat. He can straight away go ahead, release his code automatically. The software will test it out and give the feedback to the developer whether it is working or not. In case it goes well, code is well ahead on the production server. In that case, the feedback will start coming in from different parts of the world where the product is being used, and this feedback will automatically be streamlined and be collected by my monitoring software, which is a separate software, which is a part of the DevOps lifecycle. And this monitoring software is going to pick up all the problems that are happening, and it's going to be delivered to all my developers. And then my architect and plan out which bugs should we work on first, which bugs should we work on later, and accordingly the developer team is assigned their next task. And this is how this life cycle goes on and on. Okay, so guys, this is what DevOps is, and this is how it basically solves the problem of first of all, the problem between the team members, and second of all, making the process a lot more efficient because of automation. Okay, now how to implement this life cycle is exactly what this course DevOps certification training is all about. So as and when we'll be progressing in this course, we'll be learning about each and every tool which comes in the DevOps lifecycle. And finally, by the end of this training, you will be able to implement a lifecycle like this for a company that you're going to work for. Okay. So guys, any questions so far, please let me know. And if not, let's go ahead. Okay. So the saying how release is different from deploy. So when I understand, when the testing is done, I understand that my code is ready, right? So the difference between a release and a code being pushed on Git, which has been tested, is that a release contains a lot of code commits. What I exactly mean by that is, when you're working with a team, obviously your team will be working on 10 features together. Probably 2 developers will be working on one feature, the other 2 developers will be working on another feature. Now what happens is, as and when the features are ready for a certain product, each feature is tested out separately. Okay, and some features get rejected, some features get passed based on, whether their test cases have been passed or not. And finally, what happens is, I go ahead and define that, okay, these are the features that I'm going to go ahead and deploy it on the server because these have passed the test cases. So this is a release that I've created. Now, once I've created a release, I then go ahead and deploy this release on the servers. So that's the difference between a release and a deploy. Okay. Shentil is saying, but DevOps SDLC is similar to Agile. Well, Shentil, in Agile, you were not making use of any tools, right? The only idea that you had was that let's create small softwares, small software releases, and then put it out to the world. But that did not solve the problem of, the developers and the operations guys. The developers were now told, don't work on all the features, work on only 2 or 3 features. I did not tell them automate your life cycle. I did not tell them, push everything to version control system and push along with the Docker file. I did not tell them that. So in a way, you can say that DevOps is making use of Agile principles, but at the same time, it is having some of its own principles, which is basically helping us to solve the problem between development team and the operations team as well. And hence the name DevOps. Okay. Any other questions, guys? Is everything clear up till now? Anything which is not clear, let me know. Okay, Rakesh is saying for every incremental build, an associated Docker file is mandatory. Well, Rakesh, what happens is when you're working with Git, you do not actually push a Docker file every time. You just push the code which you have changed. Now, the beauty of Git is that whenever it is pulled, for any, let's say I tell my tester that, you know what, I have basically changed the icon of the website, so please go ahead and test it. So now when he's going to pull the code, he's not only going to get the updated code for the icon, but he's going to get the other things as well, which are related to the code. So in case I don't want to make any changes to my Docker file, it's going to sit there in GitHub, right? It's not something that I have to upload every time to GitHub. I just have to update the changes to my already existing code base, right? This will be more clear once you understand how Git basically works. But no, not every time you will be pushing the whole code base. You will be only pushing the changes that you're doing. And no, to answer your question, changes in Docker file are not mandatory in every release. All right. Any more questions, guys? Anything that is not clear to you, please let me know. Any questions? Okay, so if there are no questions, let's go ahead and understand the various tools that we'll be learning when we are learning DevOps to implement a lifecycle that we just understood. Okay, so guys, these are all or some of the tools that we'll be learning in this course, and these will be used to basically implement the DevOps lifecycle that we basically just talked about, right? So if you see the same life cycle that we saw in a few moments before, this is the life cycle which basically is having all the DevOps tools in place, which are basically going to get the job done. So the developer is now basically going to push the code to GitHub, right? And one second. Okay, so the developer is now going to push the code to GitHub, and GitHub is basically the place where my version control will happen. And once the code has been pushed to GitHub, this code will then be automatically be picked up by Jenkins, which is basically the heart of your DevOps lifecycle, which is going to make all the automation happen, right? So Jenkins will see that there is a new code which has been pushed on GitHub. It will pull that code and it will deploy it on the testing server using the Puppet and Ansible tools, which are going to help Jenkins decide what all software has to be installed on the testing server. Okay, so for installing all the softwares which are related to the code, any update and etc. which is required, Puppet or Ansible will help them getting installed it on the testing server. And the testers will basically write their test cases in Selenium, and these test cases will be running on Selenium. And basically then if the feedback is, let's say the test cases fail, in that case Jenkins can automatically trigger a mail and send it to the developer saying that this is the log that we got while we were running your code, right? If everything went well, the Jenkins will basically take the same code, deploy it on the production server. Again, Puppet and Ansible will be used to install the required softwares on the production server, and then the code will be ready. Now this code will continuously be monitored. All the feedbacks will be accumulated in Nagios. So Nagios is not only going to monitor the code, it is also going to monitor the servers, right? It's going to check whether the servers are up or not, whether the servers are healthy or not. In case it is unhealthy, Nagios can again, push a feedback to probably your manager that, what, a server has just went down. Please go ahead and check what exactly is wrong, right? And apart from that, you can also enable Nagios to, collect feedback from people and then streamline it to the development team so that they can plan out their next tasks. So these are all the tools, guys, that you will be learning in this course. Now, along with the code basically being pushed on the testing server or the production server, You can also have Docker. Now, Docker is something which is optional, but that is something that we're going to teach you in the course while you're deploying your code. Because your code, like Rakesh pointed out in the beginning of this session, what is microservices? And can you give an example, right? So with the help of DevOps, what you can do is you can have multiple environments in the form of containers, Docker containers, which can have their own operating system inside it and which can run whatever code you want in that container, right? So these containers then interact with each other with the help of JSONs, right? Which is basically, a standard that has been devised, which can be understood by most of the programming languages out there. So let's take the example. Let's say you're creating a login feature. So your login feature can pick up the query from the database and then can send the result to a container which could be working in Python and can compare whether the user, whatever entry he did, and the entry that we have got from the database, whether they are equal or not. And this communication basically happened with JSON. So I'm pretty sure most of you would be blank over here, so it is fine because this will be more clear. We have 6 hours of content on just Docker, understanding Docker, and a 3 additional hour of content on just understanding Kubernetes. So you will not be able to get it if I just explain you in 2 minutes what microservices are, how they work. But yes, if that is a necessity in your code, you can also employ Docker over here, and the code can be deployed inside Docker, which is being deployed on the testing or on the production server. Okay, so these are basically the tools using which you will basically end up having a DevOps lifecycle. All right, any questions? Okay, Ajit is saying, as a new guy to DevOps, should I opt for DevOps or DevOps Masters? Well, Ajit, it depends. See, most of the DevOps jobs that you will be seeing out there, they will be dependent not only on your skills on DevOps, but they will also be dependent on cloud. Okay, so if you are applying for a job which is between 16 to 20 lakhs, absolutely they will ask you for the cloud skills as well. So when you opt for DevOps Masters, the cloud skill is also taught to you. But if you're a guy who is going to apply for jobs between 6 to 10 lakhs, then I can say that safely you can just opt for DevOps, and that should be fine for you. If you're aiming a salary higher than that, then you should opt for DevOps Masters. And this will be, I think, discussed or this can be explained to you better, probably after the session when my ISM is going to guide you through the course catalog that we have. Okay. But other than that, any technical doubts, guys, anything that I can help you out with, please let me know. Okay. Sunil is saying, what is Chef? So Sunil, we basically are teaching Puppet and Ansible in this course, which is basically configuration management tools. So similar to Puppet and Ansible, you also have something called as Chef. Now, when you talk about the working of these softwares, they're exactly the same. Why have we kept Puppet and Ansible? Why have we not kept Chef? Is because more and more companies these days, which are basically asking for DevOps profiles, they're basically focusing more on Puppet and Ansible rather than Chef. So that's why we decided that we are going to teach you configuration management, obviously. So we are going to teach you with one tool, which is Puppet, but we are also going to teach you on Ansible so that you can apply for all DevOps jobs. Because some companies go ahead for Puppet, some companies go ahead for Ansible. So why not learn both the tools and apply for all kind of jobs which are out there. Okay, Rakesh is saying Jenkins integration interface. Please clear about two at the same place, the Puppet and Selenium roles. Okay, so what happens, Rakesh, is that when Jenkins is there as a continuous integration software, it basically is going to first make the environment ready for you before your code can be deployed. Now, how do you make the environment ready for your code? So if you're using Puppet, and let's say I have Java 7 installed on a testing server, and for my code to work, I need Java 8 over there. So my Puppet can help me my Puppet software can help me, upgrade the software on the target system. And once the software has been upgraded, Jenkins will then push the code and basically put it in a place where, for example, if you are dealing with a web server, and if you are dealing with an Apache website, the path where your code has to be is /var/www/html. This is the directory where your code has to be present. So Jenkins will ensure that your code is downloaded in that directory. Right now, once your code is present in that directory, now your code starts working, and then Jenkins fires up a command which will now run the Selenium test cases on that particular system. So Selenium test case will assume that your website which is running is the updated one, and it will now start testing all the test cases which the testers have devised. Okay, so this is how Jenkins will trigger on the same system. It will trigger different tools based on which stage of deployment you are in. In the initial phase, obviously Puppet will be used to get the environment ready, and after that you will have the code deployment, which will again be managed by Jenkins, and after that you will have the testing starting. So these are all different tasks that Jenkins can do for you sequentially. Okay, Bhumika says we lost you. All right, guys. Guys, am I not audible? Let me know. Am I audible to everyone? Okay. She says it's fine now. All right. Cool. All right, guys. Okay. Janardhan is saying in between voices breaking. No problems, Janardhan. Let me know what is not clear and I will explain it again. No issues. All right. Any doubts, guys? Anything which is not clear? Okay. Janardhan is saying, what is the role of Selenium here? Janardhan, Selenium is basically a testing software. Okay. So what happens is my testers will be creating automated test cases. So I gave you the example in the beginning. Let's say I'm creating a calculator app, or let's move on to another example. Let's say I want to go ahead and I want to create a login functionality in my application. So what I do is I go ahead and ask my developer for it, and my developer creates that functionality for me. Right now, what will happen is my testing team has to test it. So they can have multiple test cases over here. So first test case could be they will provide a username and password which is incorrect, and click on login to see what is the message that my login functionality is basically passing. So if the message that my login functionality is not passing login unsuccessful, then I will say that their test case has failed. Right? It could be when I click on login, it is not giving any message, which is again a bug. It could be when I click on login, it has logged in to the application, even if the credentials are wrong, which is again a bug. So I create a test case. If I enter the wrong credentials, it should give me a message login unsuccessful. If it is giving me login unsuccessful, great, pass the test. If it is not giving me login unsuccessful, fail the test. This is the first test. After that, this can be a sequential test which I create, which says, let's say I enter the username and I do not enter the password. And now when I click on login, I should basically get the message that please provide the password. If I'm not getting the message, fail the test. If I'm getting this message, pass the test and move on to the next test. So similarly, you can create multiple tests over here, which will run on your software to check whether the intended behavior is coming or not. Okay. Bhumika is saying this CI/CD will happen once a stable code is deployed after initial planning. Well, Bhumika, this CI/CD pipeline will run when, so in Jenkins, you have an option of specifying that which branch in GitHub should a code be deployed to. So if I were to tell you in a very basic manner, more will be clear when you learn Git, that Git can have multiple folders. Okay, just let's understand branches using folders. it can have multiple folders. There can be a developer folder, there can be a master folder. So if my developers are creating the code, they will be pushing all their code to the developer folder. And once their manager has reviewed the code, they can move that code to the master folder. And now I can configure Jenkins in a way that whenever the code is, and whenever any new code comes to the master folder, which basically means whenever a QA'd code comes to the master folder, start the CI/CD pipeline. Okay. Now CI/CD pipeline will not only be used for the cases where my code is finished. It can also be used for the cases where my developers want to see if their code is working or not. So if my developer has written some code and he wants to check whether it's working fine or not, he has not done the testing yet. He just wants to see whether submitting to his manager whether it's working fine or not. I can ask my DevOps engineer to create a process like this where the developers can check whether their code is working fine or not, or how much of their code is correct and how much of the code still needs improvement. And for this also, we can create a CI/CD pipeline. Okay, Rakesh is saying these tools are from different vendors which are used here. Yes, Rakesh. So all these tools are from different companies, but the way these tools have been designed is they can be used together to have the DevOps lifecycle running. All right, guys. Any more questions? Anything that you would like to ask me? If not, I will be handing over the call to my colleague over here, who's now going to explain how you can go ahead and learn further about this course. All right, Shravya. So Shravya, I've just made you the presenter. Let's check if we are able to hear you or not.
Yes, Hemant. Can you hear me?
Yes, Shravya, you're audible. So guys, Shravya is basically a senior course advisor with our company, and she's going to go ahead and tell you about the DevOps training that we conduct. In between, if there are any technical questions, I'll be going ahead and answer. Otherwise, Shravya will be going ahead and she will be guiding you through the session. So over to you, Shravya, now.
Yeah, thank you, Hemant. So, hello everyone. My name is Shravya, and I'm a senior course advisor here in Intellipaat. So, today I'll be walking you through the details of the DevOps certification training course online that we have in association with IBM. So, as you can see in my on my screen, it says in collaboration with IBM. So here, the training that you are getting is in collaboration with IBM. So post the course completion, you will be working on one of the main projects from the IBM, and you will be also receiving a certificate from the IBM. So this training program that we conduct is completely online. Two-way interactive webinar sessions are conducted, and we have got batches in weekend and weekdays. So basically, if you see on the website, you can see we have batches on Tuesday to Friday, that is weekdays batch. It is 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And another batch we have got Saturday, Sunday, that is on weekends. It's 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. So it's 8 to 11 on weekends, and Tuesday to Friday, it's weekdays, it's 7 to 9. So basically, the course has been divided into theoretical training and practical training. So it's 42 hours of instructor led training and 60 hours of exercise and project work. So if whether you go for weekend or whether you go for weekdays, no matter whichever batch you choose, if you are going ahead without missing any class, attending the classes on regular base, then you will complete the training program in 1.5 months. 1.5 months is the course duration, but it's not mandatory that you have to complete the course in 1.5 months, because we provide lifetime accessibility. That is, you can take your own time to complete the training program. So I'll be explaining about the lifetime accessibility and features later point of the time. So let me just tell you about the course first. So with this course, we will be giving you free Linux course because you must be aware that DevOps completely works on the Linux operating system. So if you have the knowledge of Linux, it's good. For the people who do not have the knowledge of Linux, we have given that as complimentary. So it is in forms of videos, tutorial videos will be given to you. You can go through the videos, 15, 16 hours of videos are there. If you have any doubts and queries related to the Linux, you can ask the trainer in the online classes. And classes are conducted in the similar manner. through GoToMeeting webinar. One day prior to the class, you will be receiving a link, GoToMeeting link, just like this webinar that is going on right now. And you can talk to the trainer, you can ask your doubts and queries. So it's a very interactive class that we conduct. Coming to the curriculum, yeah. So this is the course curriculum, course content. We start from the basics. First, we will be teaching you the introduction, that which are the tools that we are covering, how the installation of these tools takes place on the cloud platform. And then we will be covering from the basics of DevOps, that what is software development, what is SDLC, what are the tools in DevOps, what is a DevOps lifecycle. And then we will be moving towards the tools. We have continuous testing, Jenkins, software version control, Git, all the Docker, Selenium, Puppet, Ansible, Kubernetes, Nagios, Terraform. So overall, 12 modules are there. So you can see every module that we are covering is in depth. So if I show you about continuous testing, which is done by Mevins. So if we are teaching you continuous testing, Mevins, how the theoretical of continuous testing takes place, we'll be also giving you hands-on exercise on the same. So we will be making sure that every module that we cover, you have the practical knowledge of each and every module. So every module will be followed by hands-on exercise. And on regular basis, we will be providing you assignments. So the thing about assignments is assignments are given as homework. Why? Because it's kind of self-evaluation process, a self-monitoring process wherein you can evaluate like how far you have come, how far you can do without anyone's assistance. They are usually done during the non-class hours, Monday to Friday. Whenever you get time, you can work on the assignments. And if you are finding any difficulty in assignments, and you are in, you are in a dilemma that I cannot wait till Saturday, Sunday, or till the next class arrives, in that case, you can reach out to our technical team. We have a group of pseudo trainers who are available in Intellipaat tech support team. You call them up, mail them. You can reach out to them at any time, like 24/7 they work. So you can just feel free to reach out to them. They will be helping you out with the technical aspects. So we provide you the, we provide you the guidance during the class time as well as during the non-class time. Coming to the feature project part, you can see on the website, these are the projects that we'll be covering. So we have 7 projects in our curriculum. These are real-time projects. They are not some dummy project. They are not some college kind of project. They are projects from the industry. So basically, you will have the real-time exposure of the DevOps. You'll be working on case studies. You'll be working on projects from main companies. And all these projects are going to give you 2 advantage. Number one is the exposure. You will come to know actually what is the DevOps industry like, what kind of projects you'll be working on, what will be your roles and responsibilities. And number 2 is the experience. On your resume, you can mention as 6 months experience, showing that I have worked on these projects which were from these companies. A couple of projects we haven't mentioned because they are confidential. We cannot mention them on the website. And post the completion of all these projects, we will be making you work on one of the main projects from IBM that is called Capstone project. So that is a main project that you have to mandatorily complete. And after the completion of all the projects and assignments, you will be sent a link of the quiz. You have to attend the quiz and score a minimum of 60%, and you will be getting the certificate. You will be getting the IBM DevOps Engineer certificate that is valid worldwide. Any nook and corner of the world you go, it is recognized and accepted. And it validates that you have got 6 months of experience in DevOps. Post that, we will be starting your job part, job assistance we have in Intellipaat. So we have tie-up with 80 plus MNCs across the globe. Once you are done with the certificate from the Intellipaat, that is the IBM certificate, you are supposed to forward your resume to us. What our team will do is that we will build a new resume for you, because we will be mentioning all the hands-on exercise, projects, assignments, whatever you have worked on, that all will be mentioned on your resume, and that will be circulated across different companies, and we will be scheduling interviews for you. So as you can see on the website, I'll just highlight, these are the few companies that we have mentioned on the website. We will be scheduling interviews with the MNCs itself, no startup, small scale organization. These will be strictly with MNCs. Apart from that, we have a job portal, Intellipaat job portal, wherein you can upload your resume. You can, you can just type DevOps over there and search which all companies are hiring, and you can directly apply through that portal and start getting the calls from the company. Moreover, when you're forwarding your resume to my team, you have to mention your job location preferences if you have any. 3 job locations you have to mention, and the team will be coordinating accordingly. So coming back to the features of the program, so as I said, it's 42 hours of theoretical training and 60 hours of project work and exercise. So if you feel that these projects, exercise, assignments, whatever we are providing, 60 hours are not enough. You want more projects, you want a couple of more projects to explore more, or you want a little more assignments to work on. If you are in such a need, you just have to contact the operation team stating that I need a couple of more projects. We will provide you with more hands-on exercise and projects free of cost. There is no extra charges included for extra projects and assignments. And then we have a flexible schedule. Flexible schedule means, as I mentioned, that you have got 2 batches, right? Saturday, Sunday is there, Tuesday to Friday is there. Now, it's not possible to attend the classes on regular basis. Sometimes, every Saturday, Sunday, it's not possible. We are working people, we have family, we have commitments. So if in case you are feeling that you want to give it a try for Tuesday to Friday, like you have been enrolled for Saturday, Sunday, it's not mandatory that you have to stick on to the batch that you have been enrolled for. You can change your batch, you can shuffle your batch, you can change it to Tuesday to Friday whenever you want. If you're comfortable, you can continue. If you're not comfortable, you can jump back to Saturday, Sunday. So that kind of flexibility we are providing. Moreover, it's not mandatory to complete the course at a stretch. Take your time in between. If you're completing 4 sessions, 4 modules you covered, and then you are not able to attend a couple of classes, you stop the class there. Whenever you are ready, you come back. Take the break as long as you want. Come back. So let's say you have to start on the 5th module now. So my team will find a different batch where that 5th module is covered, and we'll put you in that batch. So you can resume from where you stopped last time. So this kind of flexibility we are providing. And if you want to start from the basic itself, if you're coming back and you have you have lost the all the DevOps concept, you're not able to go with that pace. So you can start from the basics also. We will put you in a fresh batch. So that flexibility we are providing. Another feature of the program is that we are providing you 24/7 lifetime support and access. So lifetime accessibility means you can attend the class as many times you want throughout your life. Let's say you completed the course by, you are enrolling now, you're completing the course by October or maybe by, November. And next year, July, you want to come back, you want to attend a particular session, you want to repeat the whole training program all over again, you can do it, and we won't charge you anything extra. It's like you can attend the classes multiple times without paying anything. And this is also applicable for your LMS portal. So basically, if you see, you can find an option called login on the screen. So this is a login for your LMS, Learning Management System portal. This portal gets activated within 20 minutes of your enrollment, and it will never deactivate. So you have all the PPTs, your PDF, recorded sessions of your classes. After every class is completed, within 24 hours, the recorded session is automatically uploaded in your portal. So you have the videos. If you miss the class, the backup is there in terms of the video, and tell the team which class you have missed out. They will compensate by putting you in different batch and arranging another session for you. So lifetime accessibility you have for your portal. That is, there is no renewal charge. This portal will never deactivate. At any point of your life, maybe 2 years down the line, if you want to brush up your memory, just log in back to the portal, go through the notes, go through the videos. Or if you feel I need a live session with the trainer, come back to us. We'll arrange a live session for you, free of cost. So this is only available with Intellipaat. There is no other institute that is providing, like other institutes are providing like 90 days LMS or 1 year course access. But in Intellipaat, for both LMS as well as for your course, the accessibility is lifetime. Moreover, one more feature is that there is free upgrade. Free upgrade means if any of these tools, whatever tools we are covering, 10 to 12 tools, all the tools, if any of these tools are updated in the market with a new version, let's say Selenium right now 3.0 version is going on. If it is updated to new version like 3.1 or 4.0 version comes up, no matter whenever it can be today, it can be 2 years down the line, 5 years down the line, whenever new version of any of these tools comes up, you don't have to go anywhere, search for other institute or pay the money. Come right back to us. We will provide you live interactive session with the trainer free of cost. There is no charges for that. So if you see, whatever you're going to invest right now, it is one-time investment. You don't have to invest for, extra projects. You don't have to invest for job assistant. It's all included in the course fee. You don't have to invest for changing your trainer. You don't have to invest again, pay the money again to attend the classes, for renewal of your LMS, for, upgrading yourself to the new version of the tool. So it's one-time investment and avail the benefits lifelong. Moreover, we have a team, support team, that has been divided into 3 teams, that works around the clock 24/7. They are available. The first team is our operation team that will be strictly handling your batches. You need a batch change, you want to repeat the class, you want a recorded session if in case LMS is not working, some issues with the LMS, the worst scenario. Anything related to the batches, repetition of class, contact this operation team. Second team is our tech support team, the technical team that will be helping you out with your technical, queries during the non-class hours. And the third team is job assistance that will come into the picture once you're ready for the job. Moreover, the certification and job assistance I've told you, in this you will be getting the IBM certificate. So the other institute who are providing the DevOps training are providing their institute certificate. While here you are getting the IBM certificate, so that is an add-on. If you put that IBM certificate on your resume, it will add a lot of weightage on your resume. And job assistance, as I've told you, that 2 teams are here. In 2 ways you can go ahead with the job. One is the Intellipaat job support team, and another is the job portal, wherein you can upload the resume and you can track the status of your resume as well. So this is all about the course. Now let me just tell you about the pricing part as well. So as you can see on the website, there are 2 types of course. First, let me just explain you the difference between this. So self-paced is nothing. It's basically the LMS portal, learning management system portal. This consists of your study materials and the video, tutorial videos. So there are people who are already working in DevOps. They don't need, step-by-step guidance, and they don't need assistance and all. They just need the study material to refer on from time to time. For them, we have the self-paced training. And then we have online classes where we give you the live interactive session with the trainer, where you can interact with the trainer, you can ask your doubts and queries. You will be having work, projects, assignments, everything will be there in this online class. If you enroll for the online class, you will be getting self-paced as free. So as soon as you enroll for online, your LMS will be activated within 20 minutes. So the course price for online classes, 22,743 plus 18% GST. It is somewhat around 26,000 round figure. So depending on your enrollment, you can avail the discount. A regular discount of 10% is going on there on the website. And for the people who have registered for the webinar, that is who are attending the webinar right now, we are providing them flat 30% discount. So if we are going ahead and enrolling within coming 2 days, that is by 24th of September, the course you can avail flat 30% discount on 26,000 rupees. No matter whenever you start, you can start. Maybe some people might not be starting this week, or they want to start in mid-October, or maybe next year, in next month. Whenever you want to start, you can start. Your LMS will be activated. So you will get all the videos. Whenever you get time, you can go through them and start your classes comfortably when you are ready. So this is all about the course. And I would also like to share my details. So if in case you are interested to go ahead with the training program, you can contact me on this number. This is my number. My name is Shravya, as I told you. And this is my email ID. You can call me on this number or WhatsApp me, or you can revert your details on this email ID. I'll be contacting you and sharing more details with you. Moreover, you can come to our website. You can see a chat box over here. You can just put your details over here. My executive will be asking a couple of questions like your phone number and your name and your details. You can just put your details over here, or you can just tell them to connect to Shravya. They will be connecting you to me, or you can come to our website and you can register over here as well. You can just put your first name, last name, your email ID, mobile number, your country, and which training course you are looking for. And you will be getting the call from our executive within 10 to 15 minutes. So this is all about the course. Any doubts and queries?
All right, Shravya. So Bhumika has a question. She's asking whether this course is also a part of Azure Masters.
Yeah, Bhumika. Yes, this course is a part of Azure Masters as well. I would like to show you the details of Azure Masters. So this is a training program. So this is especially for the people who have good years of experience, who are exploring DevOps and who want to make a career in DevOps. So we have included, this is a package of 8 courses actually. 8 courses are there, where 5 courses we are giving online and remaining, 7 courses we are giving online, and 1 course we are giving as a self-paced, that is a Linux tutorial videos. It is again in collaboration with IBM. So this course was designed after doing a lot of research, because we came to know that people, when they have good years of experience and they want to make a career in DevOps, just one technology, one skill set is not enough for their resume to get entertained. And it's obvious that people who are working in cloud has to work on DevOps, people working on DevOps has to work on cloud. So we designed this course doing the market research in association with IBM. So here we are taking one cloud, that is AWS. Why AWS? Because AWS is the primary cloud. Almost, it holds 35% share of the market. So most of the companies are using AWS as their, database to store the data. So we designed this course where we are giving you the training on DevOps, AWS, AWS SysOps, Docker, Kubernetes, Git, GitHub, and Python. So here the DevOps course, if you can see the very first course, DevOps, this is the same course that I showed you a couple of minutes back. So it is the same course, plus we are giving you AWS Solution Architect. We are giving you training on AWS SysOps. Then these tools will be covered in depth. Although these are a part of DevOps, the single individual course, but here we are covering Docker, Kubernetes, Git, and GitHub in depth with a couple of more projects. And then Python is also covered in this. Python, of course, most of the clouds are scripted using Python. Tools like Jenkins and all are scripted using Python. So if you have the knowledge of Python, if you put that on your resume, then your resume will be entertained on the fast pace. Here we have 15 plus projects. Each course has its own set of projects, 5 to 6 projects each course will be having. And as I mentioned, whatever the features that I told you there are applicable here also. We have flexibility, 2 batches. We have got Saturday, Sundays there. You can see Saturday, Sunday batches there, and then Tuesday to Friday batches there. Whichever batch you want to go ahead, you can go. You can attend the classes multiple times. So basically, if you see, this is 119 hours of instructor-led training and 210 hours of projects and exercise. So, it's a 6 months of training program, roughly. Like if you are not missing out the class and attending one course after the other, it's a 6 months. But since we have lifetime accessibility, there are people who have taken more than a year to complete the course. So you can, attend 1 or 2 course, like you can do AWS and DevOps, then take a break of 1 or 2 months, come back, and then you can go for SysOps or go for Python, whichever course you want. Apart from that, one feature of this program is that this is not mandatory that you have to follow this sequence. That is, you have to start with DevOps, go for AWS, AWS SysOps. If you want to start with Python first, you can start with Python. then you can go for any of the course. So that is up to you. And lifetime accessibility we have for this course. You can attend the classes multiple times. Lifetime free upgradation is there. If any new version of any of these comes up, like let's say AWS Solution Architect is C02 version. So if it is updated into C03 in the future, you don't have to go. Come right back to us. We'll provide you, free session with the trainer. No charges are there. Live session with the trainer. And yes, course content, you can just check our course content. Every course, live courses are there. Live courses, DevOps, AWS SysOps, Docker, Kubernetes, GitHub, and Python. These are the live courses that we are providing. Every course is covered in depth, from the basic to the intermediate to the advanced. Every module has its own hands-on exercise. Assignments will be there, projects will be there. And as I mentioned that if you want more projects, if you want more practical knowledge, just tell the team. They will be providing you with more projects and assignments. There is no charges for that. Apart from that, if you talk about the pricing of this course, again, this course also has self-paced and online class. So online course is 55,000 plus 18% GST. It is round figure 65,000. So if you are opting for the master program, you are getting flat 40% discount for this. So this is a very good opportunity. Why? I'll tell you. Because if you go for individual courses, like if you're going for DevOps, if you're going for AWS, if you're going individual one after the other, each course is somewhat around 26,000, 22,000 rupees. And if you're enrolling in next 2 days, as I told you, that 30% discount is there. So it will cost you, like, if you're going individually, it will cost you somewhat around 80 to 90,000 rupees, all the 7 courses. Rather than that, we have combined it in a package and made it in a master program, which is of 64,000, 65,000 rupees. And after discount, like 40% discount, you're going to get on this. So if you see financially, this one is more, feasible for you rather than investing over and over again. And here, I would also like to show you the certification. So this is the DevOps professional certificate that you're going to get. You can see in the individual DevOps course, you're going to get the DevOps engineer certificate. Here you are going to get the DevOps professional certificate. So of course, that will be an add-on on your resume. Yes, Bhavani. So I believe I'm clear with your doubts.
Okay, Shravan. Wesley is also asking about the price and the timings in EST.
Okay, so you have to share the time zone with us and the link will be sent to you accordingly. If you talk about the price, so for this course, the price is $965. And as I told you, that 30% discount you can expect on the same. And for the DevOps one, the price for this course is, just give me a second. Yeah, it's $399, on which you can avail 30% discount if you are enrolling by 24th of September.
Okay, Samaran has a question. She's asking, is AWS developer also included?
Yeah, so in this program, we have not included AWS developer. We have included 2 main programs. One is AWS Solution Architect and AWS SysOps. We do have a AWS developer program that is a entirely different course. If you want, I can show you the details of that course as well. So it's similar to this only. That is, you will be having live interactive sessions with the trainer. And that training program is 33 hours of instructor-led training and 32 hours of exercise and project work. So 1.5 months is the training duration for that. And with that course, we will be giving you Python as complementary. So that will be given in self-paced, that is videos will be given to you, tutorial videos. and self-paced doubts, you can ask the trainer in the online class. So all the features that I've told you are similar in all the courses. Like it's applicable, whatever is applicable in DevOps is applicable here in AWS as well. And if you talk about the certification in AWS developer, you'll be getting the Intellipaat course completion certificate. You'll be getting the link for the quiz. If you're not able to clear the quiz in the first attempt, you can give 6 chances here for the Intellipaat certificate. For the DevOps, if you're not able to clear the quiz in the first attempt, you will be getting 3 chances, because there we are giving you the IBM certificate. And the price of this course is 22,800 plus GST 26,000. And as I told you, like 30% discount if you're going ahead and enrolling within 2 days.
All right. So Thomas says thanks when it has been great info, and he will be pursuing this. He has to go in a meeting. Okay. All right. Great, Thomas. Wesley says, what is the US price of the Masters DevOps course? So probably you can tell.
Just give me a second.
And also, he's asking about the number of hours for the Masters course.
Sure. Yes, so it's $965. Yeah, and coming back to the number of hours, it's 119 hours of instructor-led training and 210 hours of project work and exercise. So as I told you, like 2 batches are there. Saturday, Sunday is there, Tuesday to Friday is there. No matter whichever batch you want to go ahead, you will complete the training course in 6 months if you're not missing out the class and attending the classes on regular basis. Now, if you don't want to drag yourself to 6 months, if you're feeling like I want to complete this whole master program as soon as possible, in that case, you can attend the courses simultaneously. That is 2 courses you can do on the, in the same week. Like weekend you can do for DevOps and weekdays you can do for AWS, or whichever course you want to go ahead with that. So in that case, the duration will be less. It will be shrinking between 3 to 4 months. You will complete this whole training program.
All right, guys. So thank you all for joining in. Thank you, Shavya, for such a wonderful explanation about that product. And guys, any more questions, you can let us know, or we can conclude this session. Any more questions? So Wesley says thanks. You're welcome, Wesley. Any more questions, guys? All right, so if there are no more questions, I thank you all for joining in. Thank you, Shavya, once again for explaining us the product. So guys, if you're interested, you can always visit intellipaat.com. You can leave your number in the chat, and our sales team will be reaching out to you. You can also see Shavya's number and email on the screen. So if you're interested, you can. So Shavya, it's +91 before your number from the
Exactly.
from US.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's there.
So,
and I'm available on WhatsApp as well. Sorry, Hemant, to interrupt you. I'm available on WhatsApp as well. So if you're not able to reach out to me on this number via call, you can WhatsApp me. I'll reach out to you directly.
Right. All right, guys. So with that, thank you all for joining in. Shane says, none for me. Thank you very much for good presentation. You're welcome, Shane. Naveen says, thank you. You're welcome, Naveen. Samiran is asking, AWS dev projects are also available. So yes, Samiran, so every course that we offer within Intellipaat, they have their own set of projects which come with the courses, right? So even with AWS developer, you will have the projects available too. Okay, any more questions? All right, guys, so thank you for your time today. Have a great day ahead and goodbye.